Welcome to our deep dive into Paralogic.com, episode number 9. We're going to break down all the key insights from that episode, all the stuff you need to know, really, without having to listen to the whole thing. Of course, this is just a summary, so it might not capture every little detail, and it's definitely not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions.
Absolutely. So we're here to give you the big picture, and this week's episode is all about the future of finance and tech. Really how they're kind of converging, where the opportunities are, and also what you need to watch out for.
Okay, let's unpack this. One story that really jumped out at me was about Pennsylvania potentially adding Bitcoin to its state reserve assets, a whole state considering Bitcoin. That's huge. What does this even tell us about the future of crypto?
Yeah, it's fascinating here, right? It shows this growing acceptance of crypto by institutions. Not too long ago, Bitcoin was this fringe volatile asset, right? And now it's being considered alongside traditional reserve assets.
And it's not just Pennsylvania. Paralogic.com also mentioned that Bitcoin is now the 7th largest global asset, based on market cap, I believe. Does that suggest we're seeing a trend toward wider adoption?
It certainly seems that way. And this shift isn't just driven by individual investors, right? We're seeing major players like Franklin Templeton adding Ethereum to their money market funds. That's a clear sign that big institutions are taking crypto seriously, not just as a speculative asset, but as something with potential for mainstream use.
So we've got Bitcoin potentially entering state reserves, institutional investors dipping their toes into the crypto pool. What other signs are there that point to crypto becoming more, normal?
Well, the EU is embracing what are called MiCA-compliant stablecoins, and that's a really important development. You can think of MiCA or the markets in crypto assets. It's kind of like the GDPR of crypto, in a way. It creates this unified set of rules for the whole EU market. This could make investing in crypto assets easier and safer, paving the way for wider adoption.
And it sounds like some pretty big names are already on board with MiCA.
Exactly. Having major players like Tether and Kraken involved lends a lot of credibility to these MiCA-compliant stablecoins. It's a sign that they're taking regulation seriously and working within the system.
Okay, so we've got growing institutional interest. We've got regulatory frameworks emerging. Paralogic.com also mentioned this prediction that real-world asset tokenization, so things like real estate or art being represented as digital tokens on a blockchain, could be a $1 trillion market by 2030. Driven by financial institutions. Can you break that down a bit?
Sure. Imagine tokenizing a piece of art, like dividing it into these tiny digital shares. This could allow more people to invest in valuable artworks, even if they can't afford to buy the whole piece. That's the power of real-world asset tokenization. It makes things more efficient, more transparent, and potentially accessible to a wider range of investors.
Wow, so you're saying our whole concept of owning assets could be shifting. That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. And if this prediction holds true, crypto will go way beyond just Bitcoin and Ethereum. It'll be woven into the fabric of how we own and trade all kinds of assets.
Now, on a slightly different note, the Paralogic.com episode touched on something that hit close to home for me. The host's niece investing in crypto. This made me think about security. Because as crypto becomes more mainstream, it becomes a bigger target, right?
Absolutely. The more people using crypto, the more attractive it becomes to hackers and scammers. That's why Paralogic.com emphasized the importance of security, right? Especially multi-factor authentication or MFA.
Right, they really hammered home the point about going beyond just using SMS messages for two-factor authentication.
Yes. Because of the risk of SIM swap attacks, it's much safer to use a dedicated authentication app or a hardware security key for your accounts, especially for your crypto wallets. It's an extra layer of protection that can make a huge difference.
Speaking of security risks, they also mentioned the issue with LastPass not updating properly.
Right, and that highlights why it's so important to stay on top of those software updates. They often contain critical security patches that can protect you from known vulnerabilities.
It's so easy to just click Remind Me Later when those update notifications pop up, but they can really make a big difference in keeping your data safe. On the flip side, though, they also talked about the OneDrive freezing problem for macOS users. Sometimes those updates can actually cause new problems too, can't they?
Yeah, that's true. It's a delicate balance. Tech companies are always trying to find the sweet spot between providing the latest security features and ensuring things run smoothly.
And speaking of security, what about Apple's new iPhone security feature? That makes it harder for law enforcement to access data. Is this a good thing for privacy?
Well, this new feature raises important questions about the balance between security and privacy. Where do we draw the line? It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but it's something to consider as we navigate this evolving technological landscape.
Before we move on, I think it would be helpful to kind of recap what we've learned so far. So Bitcoin is potentially joining state reserve assets. Institutional interest is growing. Real-world asset tokenization could be $1 trillion market in just a few years. And on the tech side, security is more important than ever, especially with crypto becoming more mainstream. What stands out to you the most from all of this?
For me, it's the sheer speed of these developments. It feels like we're witnessing a fundamental shift in how we think about finance and technology, and it's all happening incredibly fast.
I agree. It's both exciting and a little daunting. We still got a lot more to cover, specifically some news about the recent U.S. election and what it means for the future of crypto regulation.
It really does feel like we're at a tipping point.
Yeah.
Things are changing so fast.
Picking up where we left off, Paralogic.com talked about the recent U.S. election and how it might affect the crypto landscape. They mentioned a pro-crypto Congress being ushered in by the election results. That sounds promising.
It does. A more crypto-friendly Congress could mean a more favorable regulatory environment for the industry. And that could be a game changer, right? Like, unclear or restrictive regulations have been a major hurdle for wider crypto adoption.
So a pro-crypto Congress could clear the way for more investment, more innovation, and ultimately mainstream acceptance.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
But, politics can be unpredictable, right? So will this pro-crypto sentiment actually translate into concrete action? That's the million-dollar question.
Good point. It's one thing to talk the talk, but will they walk the walk?
Yeah.
What did Paralogic.com have to say about that?
Well, the episode mentioned that industry leaders are already preparing for a potential regulatory transformation that suggests a level of optimism, but they're also being cautious. I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
So we've got this potential wave of pro-crypto regulation in the U.S., on the one hand.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there are these valid concerns about security and the need for caution as crypto goes mainstream. How do we reconcile those two sides of the coin?
It's a balancing act, for sure. You want to encourage innovation and allow new technologies to flourish, but you also need to protect consumers, investors, and the financial system, right?
And let's not forget about personal responsibility, too. Paralogic.com really drove home the point about multi-factor authentication, choosing strong passwords, and being wary of phishing scams.
Absolutely. Strong regulations and secure technology are important. But individual users also play a crucial role in protecting themselves and their assets, especially in this new and rapidly evolving landscape.
Yeah, it's like we're all explorers venturing into uncharted territory with so much potential, but also unknown risks, given everything we've discussed, from Bitcoin and the state reserves to the potential for a pro-crypto Congress to the importance of personal security. What do you think the future holds for this intersection of finance and tech?
Well, it's hard to predict the future with certainty, but based on the trends we're seeing, I think we can expect an even greater blurring of the lines between traditional finance and the world of crypto, blockchain, and decentralized technologies, right? We might see things like programmable money, automated financial services, and entirely new ways of investing and managing assets.
Sounds both exciting and a little intimidating, to be honest. Like a roller coaster ride into the unknown.
I like that. That's a great analogy. There's immense opportunity, but also potential risk. That's why it's so crucial to stay informed, engage in these conversations, and be prepared for the changes that are coming.
Well said. Any final thoughts for our listeners as we wrap up our deep dive into Paralogic.com Episode 9?
I would encourage everyone to embrace a spirit of exploration and learning. This is a rapidly evolving landscape with so much to discover, right? Approach it with a critical eye, a healthy dose of skepticism, and a commitment to protecting yourself and your interests. And remember, the choices you make today, even seemingly small ones, could shape how this future unfolds for you.
Wow, that's powerful. It really makes you think about the bigger picture and your own place in it. Okay, folks, that wraps up our deep dive for today. Huge thanks to Paralogic.com for always keeping us on the cutting edge.
And thank you for joining us. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay ahead of the curve.
Until next time, keep exploring. And to wrap up our deep dive into Paralogic.com's Episode 9, I'd like to leave our listeners with something to ponder. Something to think about as they go about their day.
I think the key takeaway here is that the future of finance and tech is being written right now. And you're not just a spectator. You have the opportunity to be an active participant.
So true. It's not just about understanding these trends, but it's also about considering how they might impact your life, your own life, the decisions you make, right?
Exactly. Will you embrace these new technologies and explore the possibilities they offer? Or will you take a more cautious approach? Either way, it's crucial to stay informed and make conscious choices.
That's such a great point. This isn't just about some abstract future. It's about the choices we're making today and how those choices will shape the world of tomorrow.
Think about it this way. What if you could invest in a fraction of a famous painting or a piece of prime real estate using tokenized assets? What if you could manage your entire financial portfolio through a decentralized platform? These possibilities might seem like science fiction, but they're closer than you think.
It is both exciting and a little scary to think about all the ways our lives could change in the coming years. But as we've discussed throughout this deep dive, knowledge is power. The more we understand these trends, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the future.
Couldn't agree more. So keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking questions. And most importantly, don't be afraid to be a part of shaping this exciting future.
Well said. That's a perfect note to end on. A huge thank you to Paralogic.com for always bringing us such insightful and thought-provoking content. If you haven't checked them out yet, I highly recommend giving them a listen.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of finance and tech. Remember, stay curious, stay informed, and stay ahead of the curve.
Until next time.